Hi guys, thank you all so much for watching and welcome back to Sewing Lara. In this video we are going to look at various types of fabrics. I divided them by very simple criterions into several groups that will make it easier for you to follow the certain qualities so that you will be able to decide which type of fabric you will be looking for when you start planning your project. Because there are so many out there, if you would try to learn them all by heart and to learn all the names of the various types of fabrics, that would be a long process, especially now with all the new high-tech fabrics coming up. But again, there are several qualities, several criterions that are very easy to follow, and that will help you to find the perfect material for what you plan on making. So let's jump right into this. One thing that's very useful to understand is the weight of the fabric. The heavier the fabric, the denser and thicker usually the fabric is. So if you would want to buy your fabrics from an online shop, there would be usually somewhere written how many grams the fabric has per square meter. And the higher the number, the thicker and heavier the fabric. So you could have a jersey that has under 200 grams per square meter, which will be thinner, while a jersey that has about 280 grams per square meter would be a thicker one. So that's the one you would probably rather use for sweatpants, and the thinner one would be great for tank top, for example. And another thing I wanted to show you is if you are in a shop and you see some type of fabric and you wonder, is this a fabric that's going to wrinkle? What you can do is you grab the fabric and you squeeze it with your hand tightly and then you let go. And once the fabric unfolds, either it's going to have all these wrinkles like this one, or it's gonna smoothen and be flat again. And that will give you an idea of how much the fabric will wrinkle. Let's have a look at our first group of fabrics. These fabrics have different qualities. They have one thing in common. They have been made either 100% or mainly of cotton, but they are differently thick. Some of them are even stretchy, so you would not use all of these for the exactly same purposes. So let's have a look at this group over here, and let's start with these three. So these three cotton fabrics are rather thinner. This is the type of fabric you would use for example, a button-down shirt or a light summer dress. The white one has a little bit of spandex in it, so it's a little bit stretchy, while these two fabrics are not stretchy at all, so that's something you would have to keep in mind. These two also wrinkle a little bit more than the fabric that has a little bit of spandex in it. Then we have here the fabric with the newspaper print. That's a thicker material. You could use it for pants if it were pants that don't have to be stretchy, for jackets, for let's say some decorative purposes. You could make also pillowcases of this fabric. Anything that requires a fabric that's rather thicker and doesn't have to be stretchy. It wrinkles quite a lot, but other than that, it's a really nice material. It feels very similar to denim. Speaking of denim, we have here two types of denim. The bottom denim, the blue one, has been made 100% of cotton, and it's also a little bit thicker, so this one is not stretchy, while the red denim is stretchy. It stretches in the width, not in the length. If you want to make denim jeans that are super tight, just like leggings, you would rather want a denim fabric that stretches both in the width and in the length, because whenever you would bend your knees, that would be too tight. It would not feel comfortable if the pants were cut really similarly like leggings. But it's still great for shirts, or for example, dresses or skirts. The next fabric I have here is a coat poplin. This is a fabric made 100% of cotton. It's really thick and really sturdy, and as the name suggests, it's great for coats or jackets. But you could also use it in order to make, for example, bags or backpacks. The next group of fabrics that I have here are various stretchy fabrics. They are differently thick, Some of them are made just of natural fibers. Some of them have also spandex in them, and some of them stretch out in the width, and some of them are bi-elastic, which means they stretch both in the width and in the length. And the type of stretchy fabric you will buy for your project will always depend on the type of clothing you plan on making. So let's say you plan on making sweatpants. So yes, they should be stretchy, but they don't have to be super stretchy because sweatpants are not very tight. If you plan on making leggings, anything that should fit like a second skin, you would definitely want to have a stretchy fabric that stretches both ways. And it could be also a bit thinner than the fabric that you would pick for your sweatpants. So that's something you have to keep in mind before you decide on which fabric you are going to buy. So I give you a few examples. So I have here these jerseys. So they are made mainly of cotton, but they contain about 8% of spandex each. So this one is unicolor. Here we have an example with a print. A very nice material. I have used these for various tank tops, shirts, underpants. I even made a onesie of a similar jersey and summer dresses. And then I have here on the other side 2 types of jerseys that are more suitable for thicker t-shirts or for sweats. So this one would be great for sweats. It's a little bit thicker. It's still nicely stretchy, but not too much. And it's a really comfortable material, very breathable because it's mainly cotton. And then I have here 3 types of viscose. So viscose is a type of jersey that's been made of originally natural fibers, but they have been chemically processed. It looks just like jersey, but it feels differently. It falls also differently, and it feels a little bit heavier. So when I take this jersey piece and I fold it, you can see it's almost stiff, while when I take this viscose and I fold it, it kind of bends. It's just gonna fall a little bit differently. And I find that viscose is a great material for example, skirts or baby doll tops, but also for light summer shirts. This one is a leftover of one project. I made a stretchy summer dress of this and a tank top, super comfortable. Next, I have here a bamboo. No, it's not bamboo, it's linen jersey. It's almost a see-through. I made a shirt for my husband of this, and since it contains linen, so it's partially cotton and partially linen, it is very breathable and great for summer hot days. Falls again a little bit differently. It feels a bit softer but stiffer at the same time. It's really difficult to describe this because linen is normally a fiber that's a little bit stiffer than cotton, and that's what I feel here, but it's thin, so that's why it falls a little bit differently than a jersey like this. Next I have here spandex. So this is a material you could use for bikinis or swimsuits or dancewear or sports leggings, anything that has to dry fast, and it's super stretchy. You can see how far I can stretch this out, and even when I stretch it out, it just jumps back into its former form. And the last type of stretchy fabric I have here is this jersey that's been woven in kind of a tunnel. I like using this for cuffs, for sweatshirts, or for sweatpants, or for the waistband of shorts or sweatpants. And when I say kind of a tunnel, I actually mean an actual tunnel, because this is how the fabric has been woven. So it doesn't have any edges. It's basically a closed piece that looks like a tunnel. Now let's have a look at all these see-through fabrics. Even though they are all see-through, they do have a little bit different properties, so you would use them for different projects. So all 3 of these are stretchy mesh fabrics. The black mesh with the small net is more see-through than the white one, but it's very similar. This one has obviously bigger compartments, and these can be used, for example, for stretchy clothing that should have sections that are see-through. So I made myself leggings, and they have several sections made of this mesh. Looks really pretty. Then I have a dress where the midsection around my waist and the bottom section of the skirt were made of this white mesh, also very pretty. Next I have here organza. It looks like a shiny nothing basically, because it's very light, but it's also very stiff. So that's not a fabric I would necessarily use for clothing, but it's a great fabric that you can use if you want to create gift bags or for decorative purposes. Then I have here in black, in blue with pattern, and in this beautiful coral georgette. That's a very nice fabric that folds nicely, doesn't wrinkle too much, and it's great for summer dresses, summer tops, or light blouses. There is a similar fabric out there, it's called chiffon, that is even softer and a little bit more see-through, but I don't have it right here, so I can't show you, but that's also an option. And then I have here tulle. So this one has a little bit bigger holes in the net, and this one is a little bit denser and also less stiff. The thicker tulle with the bigger holes is the tulle that's usually being used for tutus, for ballet dancers. You can use them for petticoats or for underskirts for example, wedding dress, and also for decorative purposes. Next, I have here various velvets. So let's have a look at these two first. So the dark green velvet has been made of polyester, and the beige velvet has been made of 100% cotton. They are both not stretchy, they are both very thick. And since the beige velvet has been made of cotton, it is more breathable than the polyester velvet, which is something you want to consider before you start planning your project. So if you want to create, for example, a bodice or pants or a skirt, I would recommend using the cotton velvet. If you are planning on making, let's say, curtains or a jacket or a coat or a pillowcase, you can definitely use the polyester velvet instead. I have made a bodice of the polyester velvet, and I personally find it comfortable, but that's about personal preference, so use whatever feels more comfortable for you. The polyester velvet also feels a little bit stiffer and sturdier, so that would be a great material for example, bags or backpacks as well. And then I have here this stretchy velvet that has the nice typical velvet finish. That's a Nikki velvet, a very comfortable material. You can use it for sweatshirts or for sweatpants, even for dresses. And then we have here pan velvet. It has the typical shiny finish. It is stretchy only in the width, so I would not necessarily recommend it for leggings, but you can use it for skirts or dresses or tops. There is also a velvet that is stretchy both ways, but I don't have it at home, but that's the one you would want to use if you would want to make yourself, for example, velvet leggings. Furthermore, we have here several types of lace. I find that lace is something that polarizes quite a lot. Some people simply hate it, some people love it, and I have a feeling that there is nothing in between. I personally love lace, but it can be a bitch to work with. So this lace is a lace that's been made of tulle, which is quite a stiff material. So this is something I would use maybe for an evening gown or for some decorative purposes. I have here this beautiful vintage lace. This lace is about 50 years old. I have a top made of this, but that's the type of lace that you can also cut out into single shapes and use it as embellishment for your projects. Then I have here these three. So this one is stretchy both ways, while this one stretches only one way, and this one is not stretchy at all. And just like with the other fabrics you have just seen, that always depends on what you want to make of that. So this lace could be used for a stretchy shirt that's pretty tight, while here I would consider that it stretches only sideways, and this one is definitely for anything that's not too tight. Since lace is a see-through, you would want to consider using it with lining, which leads us to the next group of fabric. So I have here one example of lining that's not stretchy and it's shiny. It looks like satin. That's something you could use underneath a lace that's not stretchy, while for the stretchy ones you would want to have something like this that stretches also. And that way you can make the lace still look like it's on your skin if you would find lining in a nude shade, but it wouldn't be a see-through. And of course, if you have a lace that stretches both ways and you want to make something super tight, let's say you would necessarily want to have lace leggings, then I would recommend using, instead of lining, a bi-elastic jersey in a nude color underneath the lace. While these two linings are rather thinner, and these are linings you would use for skirts or jackets or dresses, there's also this type of lining. It's called quilted lining, and that's perfect for winter clothing, for example, for winter jackets. And I have also used this type of lining when I made a bucket bag. It's not necessary that you need a quilted lining for bags, but I personally really like using it because it keeps the form nicely, and it's also a little bit thicker, but that's just my personal preference. Other than that, it's meant for winter clothing. Then I have here taffeta. That's a very stiff material. It's super shiny and it's a wonderful material for evening gowns. This is also a type of taffeta, but it's been embellished with these little rhinestones, and this is satin that can be used for blouses or also for evening gowns. These are also great for decorative purposes, so if you plan on making some kind of Christmas decor, you could always use taffeta for it, or satin, because it has a nice shiny finish. Faux leather and faux suede are great materials for both clothing and decorative purposes. Some of them are stretchy, some of them are not, some of them have a shiny finish, some of them look more velvety like the faux suede. So this black and golden faux leathers, they have rather a shiny finish and they have the typical structure that looks like leather, but when I turn them around you can see that it's fabric. This one is a little bit matter, but it's a very nice fabric to work with. I made a biker jacket of the faux leather, of the black faux leather. It's a great material. It was really easy to work with, and it's very sturdy as well. Then I have here these two faux suede. So this one is not stretchy, while this one is. The stretchy faux suede is definitely something I would use rather for tops and skirt and light clothing, while the thicker and not stretchy faux suede could be used for shirts, like button-down shirts, maybe even pants. And these are great for jackets and coats or faux leather pants, and you could use them also in order to make, for example, bags or backpacks. Tartan, these are one of my favorite fabrics for the cold season, although the term tartan does not refer to the type of fabric, it only refers to the pattern. So these fabrics were all woven of colorful threads that are crossing at 90 degrees angles, and they can be made of wool or polyester or of some material blend. You can use these fabrics depending on what they were made of and how thick they are for various projects, for example for button-down shirts, for scarves, for dresses, for skirts. You could even use them as lining for a jacket. That always depends on you, and of course also for decorative purposes. This type of fabric is called tweed. Tweed can be made either of wool or of polyester. All these three are made of polyester. They are differently thick, so this one is the thickest. You could use thinner tweed like this, for example, even for dresses or skirts. The thicker tweed would be more suitable for coat, but you could still make a dress of it and it would be a winter dress. One thing I personally love about tweed is that you can fray it out in a really nice way, and that way you can embellish your pieces with frayed sections. And that's something that was always typical for the classical Chanel jackets. So definitely a fancy fabric. If you buy a polyester tweed, it's not even that expensive. Then I have here a piece of a functional fabric, which is something that's very popular, especially for sportswear. So this fabric has been made of two layers. So the top layer, which is the right side of the fabric, is water and wind resistant, which makes it really great for any type of weather, while the inside feels like fleece, so it makes it very warm. It is a little bit stretchy and it's great for functional jackets or winter coats. I made, for example, for my husband of this a very warm duffel coat. Even though this is already warm, I used it with lining, with warm winter lining, and the coat is amazing. No matter how cold it is, my husband is always toasty warm in this. And since it's also water resistant, it's also great for days when it's snowing or when it's really cold, but you have the typical nasty freezing winter rain. The next group I have here are various fall furs. There are so many artificial furs out there that very often look like real fur. There's literally no reason to skin an innocent animal for our indulgence. So I have here several types, so you can clearly see that the hair is differently long, and this one doesn't really look that real, while this and this one looks like it's really fur. But when I turn them, you can clearly see that it's woven fabric. One tip, when you are about to buy faux fur, just to make sure that no real animal hair have been mixed in, you can grab a little bit of the hair and burn it. And if it stings like plastic, then you're good to go, because then it's not real fur. Faux furs are great as an embellishment for especially winter clothing or for decorative purposes, for some creative projects. What you need to know definitely about them is that they make a lot of mess. So whenever you start cutting the faux fur, it will start fraying out and you will be left with chunks of faux fur everywhere in your flat. So I remember when I made my winter coat, I framed the hood and the sleeves with faux fur and later even the bottom, and I had to vacuum several times, but it was definitely worth it because it's very pretty and super warm. Since faux fur makes such a mess, what I usually do is when I'm working with it, I always cut out the shapes that I need. Then I grab it and I actively fray out whatever would normally fall out by itself. Then I throw it away and vacuum. And then I go ahead and sit down at my sewing machine and I edge every single edge with zigzag, and that way it will stop fraying. It's extra work and I need extra yarn, but it definitely saves me a lot of cleaning in future. If you do not have a sewing machine, then of course doing this manually would be too much work. In that case, it's probably much easier to clean afterwards, but if you have a sewing machine, go ahead and do that and you'll have definitely less to clean later. And last but not least, I have here felt and fleece. Fleece is something that is being very often used for blankets, but also for winter clothing, while felt is for decorative purposes. Felt can be made of wool, but it can be also made of artificial fibers, which is the felt I have here. Fleece is made of purely artificial fibers. It's very warm. It's a great material for the winter and again, great for blankets. You can of course use also fleece for decorative purposes, just like felt. The difference is that it's not so stiff. It's much softer, while this is a really stiff material and it will keep its shape a little bit better than fleece. Alright, so these were the different types of fabrics. Of course, there are so many more out there. I don't have every single type of fabric at home, so I can't show you all of them. Plus the video would be way longer, but I think this should have given you a nice idea of what you can use for which clothing or what projects. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that it has been helpful. Thank you all so much for watching and happy sewing!